It is, and we always record it.
Smart.
We always do.
It's like NFR after hours.
The other thing, too, though, like for me, with National Fire Radio, right, is like it's funny, not that we get I get my balls broken a lot, right?
Because you're doing something.
Yeah, but I think it's also, right, I think it's because we stay in our lane. Like, too many people try to be everything, and here's the deal, right? Could I talk to you about firefighting, and could I talk to you about training and the best method for stretching a line and how I do it and how we do this and that? Yeah, I could. I've been doing it for a long time, right? But I don't have the pedigree behind me, nor do I need to have that because I know what I'm good at, right? I don't think, I think one of the biggest problems right now in the fire service is everybody's trying to be everything. And I don't agree with that. But with National Fire Radio, what we're trying to do is we're going to align ourselves with guys down the road that want to bring in the training aspect, right? Like, we're taking baby steps, right? We talk about tradition and culture. We brought Pip on with the Size Up. And the Size Up is going to be health, wellness, physical fitness, mental fitness, right? Mental health, right?
Absolutely.
Then we have Rush the Bus, which is an EMS platform, right? That we're going to go after EMS. I think EMS, shit.
Untapped.
Not only that, and I don't want this to come off wrong, but there's no excitement in it. Like, everybody
The burnout rate is huge.
Yeah, but
because you're dealing
talk
with
about it. Yeah.
Dealing with what are you dealing with?
A mess.
You're dealing with a mess. You're dealing with
agree.
GI bleeds,
Yep.
which is nasty.
Sure.
You walk in, you know what the smell is. You know, it's almost very similar to firefighting.
Right.
But now you're new. What happens? There's certain departments that immediately throw you right on the bus, and now you get burnt. But the amount of call volume that we have,
Yeah.
EMS supports fire.
Oh, I get it.
And it's you got to look at that.
But I also know that there's a cadre of individuals out there that are lifers in EMS, and
because they love that.
And I think that in this world, EMS plays second fiddle to fire and police and everything.
The redheaded
else,
stepchild.
It is, and what we're trying to do at National Fire Radio with Rush the Bus with Pete and Julie was really understanding that there's a culture out there that nobody's really talking about. You know, there are
need
people
to be heard from.
Right. And not only that, but the cool thing about EMS is it's always changing, right? The fire service is really steeped in what we do, right?
Yep.
There hasn't been in the last 10, 20 years earth-shaking changes to our industry.
The only thing I'll debate you on.
Go ahead, talk to me.
Thermal imaging.
Yeah, well, right, okay.
It's the technology side.
And PPE's gotten better and all, right. I'm not going to argue any of that.
But that's helping, you know, like guys like Andy Starnes,
right,
who's teaching thermography and everything else, and the numbers are coming out. We're finding people 75% faster. You're finding victims 99% of the time.
Right.
With the use of a properly trained.
I listened to your podcast about all that. And okay. So there's not many pieces of content that I did digest, right? Because truly my day is quite busy, so I don't get the opportunity. But when I'm in a truck, I don't listen to anything but podcasts. And that's what really got me started on National Fire Radio. But I enjoy you and Shaun and the Thin Red Line. I truly enjoy that because you guys have had some really great guests on. And the one with the thermal imaging, man, there were a couple things in there that I sat back when I know exactly where I was. I shouldn't admit this, but I sat in the parking lot at Rutt's Hut and I listened to the last 10 minutes of it in the truck. And I was like, holy shit, right? I mean, it was just really cool. And I love the fact that you and Shaun have relationships that allow for you to learn you guys. And that's what I'm fortunate for too, right? Everything we've done here, it allows me to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
So we've got, and that's one of the fortunate things, Shaun, myself, Andy, John Dixon.
Sure.
We're part of this thing that we call the Fire Service Kitchen Table.
Right.
Which we're coast to coast, and we have about 10 to 12 guys that are not the movers and shakers of the fire service, but we're all like-minded.
Yeah.
We want to better it. Just what Pip's doing, what he did tonight.
I agree.
And what you're doing by bettering it, we're leaving the fire service better. So you learn something from Andy. I learn something from Andy all the time. But then what do? I understand it, and then I pass that information.
Yeah, but so let me ask you this, right?
Go ahead.
Why aren't guys paying it forward? I had this conversation the other night. There's so many guys that think their IP is worth something, right? And I agree it is to an extent.
Their intellectual property, yeah.
Right, to an extent, right? But here's my take on it, right? Is that this day and age, you have a training company, you have your knowledge and experience over the years that you've built out your training company. If you were willing to share some of that, more of that content for free, you would gain a bigger reward on the back end. I believe that.
I agree. I've been actually lately my Instagram and Facebook posts. I've been doing a lot of my stuff on alarm systems, so I'm piecemealing it out a little bit at a time because I think firemen need to be spoon fed to a certain extent. We can sensory overload with. I can give you da 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 da.
Sure.
What do you get? You maybe get the first or second.
Right.
By the time you get to that third or fourth duh, you're still thinking about 1 and 2. 3 and 4 just went like this.
Yeah.
Crawl, walk, run.
Get it.
So I'm putting small stuff out because it makes our job easier. Like, hey, where do you find the alarm panel key? I don't know. You put it up top. Sometimes you find it there. Sometimes there's different places there are. We spurred a conversation with Pip. Pip's like, I'm making my collection. I'm like, what? 1 key at a time? And that's what it is.
Right.
There's extra keys. Somebody actually got on the conversation, the chat on Instagram, says, yeah, I'm a tech. Those keys are for you guys.
No shit.
I'm like,
wow.
Bing.
Cool.
I'm like, so I'm not stealing.
Yeah, right. But I think what's important about what we're talking about, though, is the fact that vetting what's out there today is difficult. Right? There's a lot of people that, listen, I'm Joe Smith. I take John Haywick's class on Through the Lock. I take it 2 or 3 times at the local firehouses. And now I go out and I put out a piece of content because John Haywick's not putting out content. Right? And all of a sudden they become an authority, but they have no right to even claim that they know anything about Through the Lock, let alone teach anyone or train anyone. Right? And so for me, what I'm looking at, and I think of it this way, is that this industry is not going to back up. It's going forward. Social media is not the devil. You know what? Did you see my Instagram story today? And this is funny because I just said Instagram story while we're talking about social media. I did a post, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I don't know if you know who he is. If you don't, no worries.
I know the name, but I can't.
If you go to my Instagram story, it says young and old. It's not generational. Stop using it as an excuse. And it's a picture of.
Love that picture.
It's a picture of 8 gentlemen on a train, black and white, in the 50s.
Yes, I did see that.
Reading newspapers.
Yes.
And the picture below it is 8 people on the train looking at their phones. And I think, like, that picture truly got me today to think about that. And we like to use that as an excuse. And I think what's important is now more than ever in the fire service, and this is why the existence of National Fire Radio, the existence of Thin Red Line Radio, is because of social. It's because of getting in the channels that matter, because that's where people are listening. Mm-hmm. And I think guys like yourself that have a pedigree behind them with a message to share and training tips to share, you got to be in those channels, because if you're willing to put it out there, you'll reap the reward. If you can teach people, like if you put your message out there that you know X, Y, and Z, and this is your specialty, and you prove it right through your content, your salesmanship for selling classes and going out and teaching, you'll reap the reward of that. You know, like, how do you, on a national stage, how do you get your message out there? There's a couple guys, right? We have, 20 names in the fire service that are the godfathers. A couple weeks ago, I spent a weekend with a couple of the OG, I call them, right? It was funny. Sitting next to Ray McCormick, and I'm like, you're an OG. And he's like, what? And I'm like, the original gangster. I read your content growing up. Like, you taught me engine company work, like that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But here's the deal. He's getting older, right? He's going to be retiring.
Who's the prodigy behind him?
Who's coming up behind him?
Who's going to be the next one?
But the thing is this. Who's the next one can be anybody now, because the channel is so much broader, right? You only had fire engineering and firehouse. And now in 2020, you have a lot bigger range. So who's the next class, right? And it was funny because we sat there, we did a podcast with unbelievable guys. Dave Gallagher, Ray McCormick, Mike Dugan, like the whole room, right? Mo Davis from Houston. We sat there in that room, and they're like, yeah, but we all had our guys. And I go, I know that. Every generation has their movement, right? Those guys that are willing to get their message out there to train the next generation. Who's our next generation, and what channels are they on to make sure that this younger generation is learning what they know? Because Joe Smo can tell them anything they want, and because it's on Instagram or YouTube, all of a sudden they believe in it.
Well,
and we got to
so I'm gonna go. I'll throw it.
Do it.
On the West Coast.
Yeah.
Just engine company stuff. So you had Andy Fredericks, God forbid, and unfortunately he passed away 9/11.
Oh,
right.
Absolutely.
So the book of Andy's out there.
Yep.
And now you have Ray. Ray's toting the engine company stuff.
Yep.
Look at Aaron Field.
Right.
A linguist.
I get it.
Sean's right now listening to this and he's going, "That's my guy."
Yeah, but
Sean talks about him all the time.
But let me ask you a question. How many 25-year-olds know who he is?
Not many.
Why?
He's not getting his message out as much as he should. We watched him in FDIC in the big room. Phenomenal. And there's only so many people that can get out to FDIC.
I get that.
That's the problem.
But that's part of the problem, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. There are other platforms that are available to these guys to get the... Yeah, I live in it.
So am I.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we're sitting in a room that is all about that.
Yep.
Right? But my thing is like, who the hell am I? I did a speech a couple weeks ago. Sebi was there, right? I get up at the microphone. The first thing I said, now I'm sick as a dog. I have a fever. I have no, right, Seb?
Barely any voice.
Terrible. I had no voice. I was supposed to do like 20, 30 minutes, like this keynote talk at this.
You were talking all day, too.
Yeah. We get there. I feel like terror. I went for 10 minutes and I'm like, I'm done. Like I bailed off stage. And I felt bad, but they want me to come back and talk about it more. But I got up there and the first thing I said when I got up there was, I have no idea why I'm here. Because I'm just like every single guy sitting in this crowd that I just love the fire service. And I want to spread the good word. And everybody's like, there's crickets because a lot of people didn't know who I was. Yeah. And it was funny because to me, I hack attention based on the platforms that work, right? I'm talking about tradition and culture. Man, do I wish I was a 24-year firefighter like I am, but worked in an inner city where I had shit to tell you about, right? Think about it. If I was able to talk to you about forcible entry or hose work or ladder work, like I'm telling you, man, all day long. And there are guys out there that have plenty of things to share. I did Richie Stack out of Chicago.
Richie's a great guy.
Oh my God. I love him. I love him to death. And I've gotten to know him through doing a couple weekends with him and gone away with him a couple times on conferences or whatever. Unbelievable, big-hearted guy with a pedigree behind him like no other. He did a video, that thing's up to 250,000 views on Facebook, all about throwing a roof ladder against a pitched roof at an angle. 24 years in the fire service. I never knew that. Did you? But tell me yes. It's okay. You're not hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
But I had people like Mike Ciampo come to my department and teach.
Right.
So I learned some of that stuff, and plus with the readings. So you look at the fire service. We're 70% volunteer, 30% career in our nation. And you know what? We're all professionals.
Always. Because
there's no 912. I'm stealing that from somebody. I'm not sure who that is. But we're the professionals that show up. We gotta handle it. And I was fortunate that we had some people that before me, when I was coming up as a firefighter, to learn that they brought these other guys in, these professionals.
We're good.
All right. But bring these other guys in that have that passion for the job.
Right.
And in turn, that guy that had that passion for the job made me have that passion even more.
Right.
And want me to emulate what they're doing. If I could do half of or a quarter of what Mike Ciampo does and his passion for it, I'd be fulfilled.
What if Mike didn't come to your firehouse? What if you didn't have the ability to go to a conference where a name and a guy with the experience like Mike Chiempo wasn't able to be there, and for you to be there to witness that passion? Now what? Right? So
we talk about you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know that you're missing out unless you had somebody say, "Hey kid, get into the books. Hey kid, get into the 2 magazines, the 3 magazines. Hey kid, start watching." I'm gonna go here. Start watching videos.
Yeah.
Vet the videos, because you got to make sure that you're not doing something stupid.
Well, I'm a firm believer, right? Like anything you see out there, just like in general, right? Whether it's firefighting or just in
anything life,
worldly life,
yep.
Right? Experiences. You got to test them before you know if they work or not.
Well, look at Amazon. When you buy something from Amazon, I'll throw that to you.
Right.
Do you immediately swipe one click purchase, or how many times are you reading the reviews?
Oh, I read reviews all the time. Now, my wife, on the other hand, I think she just one swipe clicks and the shit shows up. There's boxes at the front door, and I'm like, are these ours? No, they're the neighbors, and she's full of it. But I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Yep. It's a good analogy, and so for myself, though. But here's the problem: I think society's more full of one swipers than reading.
I agree.
Reviews.
It's the instant gratification
Correct.
that we talked about earlier. I want it. Well, I think it's our job as the senior firefighters to tell these junior firefighters it's great to have knowledge. Vet that knowledge.
Oh, hands down.
And I don't think that's coming out a lot. I think it's, hey, you got to get knowledge. Maybe I'll give some to you, or I'll try and pass it on, but you got to vet that knowledge.
Or it's the, where's the senior guy? Oh, he's out back on his phone arguing with his ex-wife about the kids, and then he took a phone call about his second job, and his carpentry job. He's a builder, so he's doing really well at that. So he needs to be involved in that, and I'm not faulting any of that. But
that's an uncomfortable conversation.
Of course it is.
That has to occur.
But here's the deal. We love, and that's why I brought that picture up before about the people reading the newspaper versus people reading their phones. Excuses are everywhere. And I don't care if you're the older guy in the fire. You could have 29 years in the firehouse. Doesn't make you a senior man.
Same year, 29 times.
Right. I mean, think about it, right? And everybody has this conversation, but it's fact. It is fact, man. I got guys in my firehouse that have plenty of years in. They don't know what they're talking about. And the younger kids weed through that pretty quick, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then all of a sudden,
bullshit pretty quick.
Right. And then all of a sudden there's some bark from that guy, and they all look at him and be like, get out of here, man. Like, you have nothing to stand on. And then you have the other guys that, want to try to take some type of lead and educate and train and take those extra few minutes. And what we throw out at National Fire Radio is very much this. Life gets in the way of everything.
Absolutely.
I think, though, years and years ago, part of the disconnect now compared to years ago was guys who go to the firehouse and everything got turned off. We didn't have the ability to talk to the outside world where you were in a firehouse. And that's career or volunteer.
You had one phone.
Right.
No cell phones.
In the career service,
or
absolutely,
you had a
right?
pay phone.
Volunteer house, the guys went down to the firehouse and nothing else mattered. Like, that was it. They just went there.
I grew up that way.
Absolutely. They turned it off, right? My father, when I was growing up, went to the volunteer firehouse on a Monday night. He was gone at 7 o'clock at night. Didn't come home until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night or later.
I enjoyed when I was a kid, my dad out on Long Island, Sundays. Sundays were Giant games. So we'd hang out, watch the first half at home. Right. At halftime, we'd hop in the car and shoot to the firehouse. Right. And I'd sit on the other side because the guys would be at the bar.
Yep.
I'd sit in the other side of the rec room. That's what they called it, the rec room. And I sat in a big chair, oversized chair, and I watched a game on my TV. And it was that was life. But that was I'm smiling about it now because
of course
that was a huge memory for me, and that was part of my indoctrination into the fire service, the brotherhood of how things go down.
My father,
and a lot of people now don't understand that because they didn't have that. I was fortunate to have that with my father.
Let me share a quick story with you.
Go ahead.
I grew up second generation. My father was a firefighter. And growing up as a kid, the firehouse was kind of off limits to the kids. Like, it was the guy's place. And my father didn't want to have to babysit his kids at the firehouse. And when I was a kid, ride our bike, chase the fire trucks around town when they had a call. Because back then they went out 100 times a year, but it was 70 fires and 30 bullshit, and so on, right? A little different than it is today. And then any time I had the ability to like ride on the truck, whether it was like at the end of a parade back to the firehouse, and it was a 5-minute drive, it was the most unbelievable experience of my life. Like, as a kid, like, oh my God, I get to ride on the truck. Like, we don't even get to go in the fire. Like, there's times when I was growing up that, like, kids, you're not coming to this is my place, Yep. But that was the norm. And then when you have the ability to get led into that, it was such an unbelievable experience for me. And so I find myself now, fast forward, now I'm in the firehouse, and my youngest daughter just turned 12 yesterday. And I let them every once in a while, like, we're doing something, and I let them hop on the truck, and they have that same look in their eyes. And it's because I don't allow them to make it an everyday thing. You have to make it special, right? Because I think what that does, like, I know that my daughters, when they grow up, they will value the fire service as a real important part of their life. I have an entire fire department that knows every guy in my firehouse knows who my kids are, and my kids know every single guy in that firehouse by name. That's great. It's unbelievable. But it's also the hard work. But I have guys in my firehouse that we don't know their kids, and they don't know who I am, right? Like, it's all about how you teach, right, Seb? Like, Sebby's a witness to this. Like, it's all about how you educate and teach and raise and upbring. And I really think the firehouse it parallels life. Like, if you raise your children correctly, and it's please and thank you, and your kids are polite, and they hold doors open, and they understand how to behave at a restaurant, right? You've done your job, right? They might talk back to me at home. My kids might be like, screw you, Dad. But outside, if their teachers think they're well-behaved, and they do well in school, and the older guys at the firehouse love my kids because they're appreciative and pleased and thankful and respectful, that's it.
Respectful is huge.
Right. Yep. We did our job as a parent.
I agree.
Now we need to do that at the firehouse. Right?
And that's where I think the senior man's position
absolutely
is. And sometimes, again, like we talked about, if the senior man, while a junior firefighter was coming up, and the senior man was very laid back, hands off, they're going to be the same way until they're given the power. Because you don't have to be an officer to be a leader.
Agreed.
Right? Oh, you don't need these. And if the person that's doing this, they shouldn't be doing this, because that's not helping, because that doesn't get respect. But if you empower your guys to step up and make decisions. I do a lot of reading outside of the fire service.
Right.
One of my favorite books all time that I've read, and I'm not a reader. It's funny. My mom's a school teacher. She's an English, she's retired now, but she was an English teacher by trade and everything else, and she grew up in Clifton. And she almost fell on the floor when she found out that I wrote like articles for like major magazines.
Yeah.
She's like, "You hated writing, you hated reading." But going back to reading and reading, Jocko stuff, Jocko Willing, Extreme Ownership. That's my top book ever. I must have listened to that thing 15 to 20 times on audible.com. And now I just downloaded the new one. I gotta listen to that. I listen to all his books, and I listen to the podcasts, because it's great to listen to Vescuso on leadership in the fire service. But I love Frank's stuff. But Frank's stuff is, we learned that in kindergarten, in grammar school. Say please and thank you. What we just talked about. Play well with others. Play well. Share your toys in the sandbox. Frank's got a great message.
Right.
I like listening to the military stuff a little bit more. It's a little bit different. But I don't know. I'm going to let you in on something. I passed on 2 books. I use Chief Holvelman's book. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Nah.
It's a leadership book.
Right.
And I did a thing called a legacy. I called it a legacy book. I listened to somebody else. I'm stealing it from somebody. But I read the book. I signed my name to both of them and dated it. And I handed it to 2 junior lieutenants.
I love that.
And I said, hey, when you're done reading it, think about who you want to pass this on to.
Yep.
And I've still potentially had 5 to 7, probably over 7 years to go before retirement. I said, when I retire, I want to find out who has that book.
Right.
I want to see the names that got signed and see where they are in their career. I don't care about the promotion. I want to see that they're respected.
I love it.
What do we want? We want somebody to say, he's a good fireman.
Yeah.
I don't care about me being an officer.
That's right.
I want to hear that John was a good fireman.
Yeah, John was good.
Because because I work to get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first time we met, we were talking up in I think it was New York, at when you did the Fools. Event.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and you're like, "Are you an optimist or a pessimist?" And I said, "I'll tell you right now, outside the firehouse, the glass is empty. It's not even full. There's not a drop of water in it. But the firehouse, I'm the constant cheerleader, and the glass is full, and it's overflowing."
Yeah.
And you asked why. I said, because you have to do that. Whether you're a natural leader or a leader by promotion, you got to be that cheerleader. You've got to bring that department up, and you got to push, and you got to make it better. Because if you don't, you're part of the problem.
I love it.
Can't be that cancer. You got to be the cure.
You're preaching, man. I mean, I am right there.
But that's what it's about, and that's part of the passion of being an instructor. You know, I've worn a lot of hats in the fire service. Started out as a firefighter EMT. This is back in '93. I got my EMT, and '92 I got my EMT. So I became a fireman in '93. Had my EMT. Became a dispatcher, police, fire, and EMS. I did it all for a small town, and it was only me there. And then I became a fire inspector. And then I did an arson investigation.
Right.
So I've seen what we do in the fire service. I've been promoted into officer and everything else. But having seen what we do and how we do it makes me a better instructor.
I get that completely. I mean, I'm listening to like your backstory, and I love that because for me, I know so many guys that have done all that, right? They constantly looking for something more, right? Because they enjoy it so much. And I think, like, the truth, we have to have the honest conversation, too, that we do this for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I want
to better myself.
Absolutely.
And you know what? What fireman doesn't like competition?
Well, that's right. So
hey, I'm going to go to this class. We're going to do this together. I'm going to beat your time. We're going to do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think, you know, it's funny when we sit around and we, you know, the cliche of, you know, I'm here to serve, I want to do this, I want to do that. You know, I'm a firm believer, like, I know for myself the reason why. Like, yeah, it's nice to get back to your community and help somebody in need. I do it for my personal satisfaction, man. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love it. I love to get dirty. I love to bleed. I love to blow snot out of my nose. I love going to fires. Like, there's nothing better. Like, I truly have a dilemma as a volunteer fireman. Like, if it's my kid's birthday or going to a fire, or it's my whatever, right? Like, I love going to fires, and you don't get to pick when they are. And so, like, for me, man, Sebby will tell you, man, I'll push guys out of the rig to get in the rig to go to a job. I mean, that's hands down, right? Like, we're competitive and we want to go to work because it's not so much of the fire, it's so much as going and proving your skills and testing yourself and showing that you're ready to go to work and you're combat ready, if you will, right? Quote unquote combat ready.
Yeah.
But I love that, man. I absolutely love that. I love from going 0 to 60 in a matter of a half
miles an hour.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I got a funny story, and it's not so funny because it actually incurred pain, and I was out of work for a little bit. I was working fire prevention.
That's pretty funny.
I was working fire prevention, and we had a report of a dog that fell through the ice.
Right.
The kids were there.
Yeah.
So I go down. My boss drops me off the firehouse. Hop in the rescue. We got a couple of guys. We're suiting up. I do like ice rescue. I enjoy it. Whatever else. I look at the one guy. I said, "Hey." Doesn't have as much time as me. I said, "Hey, dog's probably going to be scared. May bite. Just be careful."
Right.
Who gets suited up and put on the sled? Me. I'm out. All right, no problem. Dog's not a happy camper. It's barking. But so I reached. But the ice was thin enough that the sled fell through and slid off. Now I'm buoyant in it.
Right.
So I turn the dog around, spin it around so the dog's mouth is away from me. Left hand dominant. Ice shelf's right here. I go to grab the back of the neck. Dog whips around and bites me. Under the water, it releases all this up. Dog's here, hands here, out of the water. Get an infection. I'm out of work for almost a month or two. Come down with shingles. It was bad.
Jesus.
It was bad. I was in a retention pond, so that's part of the issues. We went to the hospital, got it cleaned out, and everything else.
Right.
But long story short, I told the guy what to be prepared for. I thought I was prepared for it.
Of course.
I still got bit.
Of course.
Bad things happen, even when we're better prepared for it. So what did we buy? We bought a snare.
That's true. That's true. But I also think, and I'm just looking into my phone real quick because I want to look at something here. But you talk about things going sideways when even if you think you're ready or you know what you're doing and so on. I can't find what I'm looking for right now. It's driving me nuts.
But isn't that always the way?
The beauty of photos. You know what the problem? So part of the problem with National Fire Radio is the amount of photos I have on my phone.
You only took like 500,000 before with Amy Freeze.
You have to. Amy, let's talk about that for a minute. Can we talk about that?
Dude. I was...
So I mean...
I didn't know her backstory at all.
No, I didn't either. But like a lot of people listening or that may end up listening to what we're doing right now have no idea who she is. So she's a meteorologist for ABC7 in New York City, which is... ABC7 in New York City, I think, is probably the most popular news station in the world. Like, I think it has the most viewership and so on. And she's one of the meteorologists. They have like 4 or 5 of them, but she's a rock star, man. And but she's athletic and she's fit and she's into...
but it's not natural.
It's
not
hard
the natural
work,
that
right.
she had a hard work.
Wow.
And I liked what she was talking with Pip regarding the restart because I'm there in my life.
I get it.
And my wife and
I try to restart like once a week, and it just doesn't take.
It's tough because life gets in the way.
You're right.
And, so you go from buying a gym membership and just letting that money rot to buying equipment that gets dusty.
My daughter is a trainer. She runs a gym. She trains she trains, I can't even tell you how many people a day, personal trainer, runs a very busy gym. And I can't get there yet. And it has nothing, like growing up, it's funny because I'm a big guy and I carry a lot of weight, but even when I was in the best shape of my life, I played high school sports, I played Division I college sports. I played lacrosse, Division I, Marist College, AA. Division I, AA.
I was in Loyola for a little bit.
Okay.
Down in Baltimore.
Yeah. And so even in my best shape, I carried weight. But now it's like just full out,
it's just weight.
Life is busy and it's just weight, And we all make those excuses, but tonight was cool, man. I'm excited for Pip and his podcast because I think it really spreads a good message.
It transcends outside the fire and emergency services.
Without a doubt. But I think it's also a personal journey. I know my struggles, and I know that. Listen, I enjoy, one of my hobbies is eating out. Like, we go to good restaurants, and I enjoy good cocktails. And
you're a foodie like me?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What fireman isn't a foodie?
I'll tell you right now, I love cooking.
I love
eating my own food.
You know what? I know a lot of guys that don't appreciate what I appreciate. Like my wife and I, we truly perfect going out. Like, we go to good restaurants, and we eat good food, good meals.
Oh, yeah.
Great craft cocktails, like we're into all of that. And that's my lifestyle. And then I work probably 80 hours a week with everything involved. And so, but there's still, and it's funny with Pip's like, yeah, but you still got 15 minutes a day. He's right. Of course he's right. So and that's why I hate him.
I'm going to throw something else out, Jim.
Yeah.
He's right, 15 minutes.
Yep.
How bad is a PT visit for an hour,
right.
3 times a week? But you make that happen. I've learned. I've had that issue.
Yep.
Whether it's my ACL that I tore, or whether it's my neck or my back that flares up every once in a while, that 15 minutes in the gym or at home prevents that hour every 3 times a week.
Listen, I've been fortunate.
I'm on the struggle bus right now. I was motivated tonight just sitting and listening.
Right.
I'm going to get on the Echelon bike that we just bought that I think has got dust on it already.
Probably.
But I'm going to hop on that tomorrow.
That's good.
And I'm going to ride for a little bit. I'm going to get ass sore and all that other stuff from sitting on the bike because I've ridden a bike since I've been 16, right?
I get it.
Right? Because at 16, I could ride freaking around Mars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Every kid in North Jersey at age 16, their thighs were rock solid because they were going up hills and down hills, riding their bike everywhere they could go. Turn 17, what do? That bike gets hung up?
Yeah, I don't know about 16. Like I stole my brother's moped at 15, 16 and cruised around. Drove down to Patterson, picked up a 6-pack, That was my life growing up. But, I mean, maybe 13, 14 riding my bike around town. But
that's funny.
No, but I get it. And I'm excited for Pip. I'm excited for his content. I'm excited that it's going to kick me in the ass when I sit here and watch that. Absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
As John's taking some selfies over here. Well, why not? Listen, I think ultimately all of this, John, and just sitting down with you tonight, you and I have never really have done this before. I mean, we really got to meet tonight. I mean, we've met a couple times, but
yeah, but we haven't really we talked or chatted it up.
And I'm a firm believer, and I talk about this a lot in our content and what we do, is that you got to surround yourself with like-minded people, and good things happen.
Absolutely.
When the message is clear and you want to talk about the good stuff and not dwell on the bad. I mean, listen, we all have bad in our lives. We all have our baggage or our issues, and that's okay, and we have to deal with that. But I think when it comes to the fire service and the job that we all love, there's that common core, that commonality of why we do. And I think when the guys have the right mission, they can sit around for hours like this over a beer.
That's how Shaun and I came about.
Right.
I met Shaun on social media, and then I met Shaun at FDIC 2 years ago.
Right.
And we're like, listen, dude, we're 2 peas in a pod, but we're like not Abbott and Costello. He's a big dude.
I got it.
He's a big dude, and I'm a skinny dude, and he's from Buffalo, and I'm from Jersey. But every 2 weeks, I need to talk.
Sure.
And I need to record with him on the Thin Red Line Radio, just because it helps both of us.
Yeah.
It's cathartic. We off gas, and we pass around a little bit of knowledge that we've dealt with, and then hopefully we bring in somebody to interview.
Sure.
They share their knowledge, and
Sure.
Shaun and I are like, holy shit, I didn't know that. Did you know that? No, we didn't know that. And we share it with an audience that actually listens to us.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I think it's great.
But you're absolutely right. Like-minded individuals
It's so
are
important.
going to make our fire service.
And not only
so much
that,
better.
but we all have our struggles and we all have our demons. And I think though that a lot of times we don't get to surround ourselves with people that make us better, or we don't allow ourselves to open up to find those people that are in the same corner as us. I mean, I'm very fortunate, in these 2 years of National Fire Radio. Not only have I rounded myself out with incredible people like Sebi and Rob and Tucker and the rest of the crew that really believe in my vision with what we're doing and where we're going, but I get to sit down with guys like you tonight. I get to sit down. Shaun Egan, I mean, let's talk about this guy for half a second, right? I mean, he's a firefighter in a city not named Buffalo. I don't know if you're talking about it or not, but whatever. Right? He's a fireman with a long history of busy houses and a good dude.
Second largest, I think, city in New York.
Oh, they go to work.
They go
to work all the time. And this guy is a lighthearted, happy, jolly guy.
Dude, he's a great guy
who just enjoys the firehouse and enjoys talking about the job. And he's an incredible family man. And I got that out of him just in the few interactions I had with him. And we were talking. We did it on tap. I brought Bobby Eckert up to Buffalo. And what an incredible experience. And this guy, Shaun Egan, rolled out the red carpet for us, spent time with us. I mean, what an incredible guy. And I think there's guys like him everywhere. We need to find them. And then we need to get their message out there. Give them a voice because the fire service is so good. Like I have the ability for the last 2 years to travel across the country and hang out with guys and girls and learn about the job and learn about where they are and learn what they do and see what they do. And then it's infectious, man. I come back and I feel bad because like my department's a great department. I absolutely, hands down, love my fire department. But man, do we not check all the boxes? But that's the norm, right? Like you would think, oh, Jeremy's Firehouse has got to be incredible culture, incredible tradition, incredible this because that's who he is. You would think, but we have all of our issues like every other firehouse.
Every firehouse has got it.
That's right.
And that's why we have to fight the cancer that there is.
Yeah. And I talk about that, John. The cancer, we always talk about fire service cancer, and we're talking about the carcinogens and, all that, everything that has to do with the medical term of cancer. But I'm like, we never talk about the other cancer in the firehouse.
The cancer that kills morale.
Yeah, it does.
And it starts at the bottom sometimes. A lot of times starts at the top.
I think most often it starts at the top because if you have a positive top, it filters down to the bottom. When a guy comes into the firehouse and the firehouse is a positive environment and a solid culture,
stays.
Yeah, I mean those guys. Then that's all they know.
You used the word before. It's infectious.
Oh yeah,
contagious. And guys trying to better the place. Whether it's funny, guys will fight. Not fight. The wrong word. Guys will argue about spending a little extra cash for certain things, but then turn around and will dump cash into a whole other project.
Of course.
It's funny, like, hey, I don't want to pay $2 extra on dinner, so it's going to be $7. But hey, we want to get a giant screen TV, or or we want to redo the day room.
Right.
Hey, I'll throw some of my stuff and I'll do my specialty. And that's one of the cool things about the fire service. We've got guys and girls that have things just outside or knowledge outside the fire service.
Absolutely.
I was fortunate enough as I was coming through college and picking up side gigs with a plumber or electrician. Never a spackler. I'm horrible at spackling. But that's why that's an art.
I want nothing to do with it.
Neither do I.
All of that.
I'll tell you right now, the best wall is probably the last seam that I ever do because I've gotten so good after doing it.
I get it.
But then I forget about it till the next time.
I start painting 5 minutes into it. I call someone.
Yeah, but the thing is, we have to capitalize on the people's knowledge and experience to make our job better.
Yeah.
I had a senior guy that was an HVAC expert. His parents, I believe, owned a oil company, so he knew what he was talking about. I'm not really strong with furnaces and stuff like that. So as an officer, as a young lieutenant, hey,
you're it.
Share my knowledge. Share the knowledge.
Absolutely.
You tell me. I'm following your lead.
Right.
But you're the boss. No. You're the expert. You're the SME.
That's right.
Subject matter expert.
You know a lot.
You tell me what's going on. I'll get you what you need or what we got to do.
That's right.
You tell me.
Oh, I agree.
I think it's important because we have that within the fire service, whether it's carpentry or any of the other trades, or even somebody that's got an HR background.
Yep.
Use them to speak out how to communicate with others better. Our job's about communication.
I agree.
What do you say? 85% downtime, 15% busy?
Right.
But we're talking to people 100% of the time. Whether it's inside the firehouse.
That's it. And that's
or outside the firehouse.
Right. Absolutely. And it's across the board. So
we have to know how to talk to people. But I think we can go on all night with this.
we absolutely could. I mean, we can keep going. But, I agree with you, John, 110%. And I think just to bring it back around, I mean, this was an impromptu bullshit session over a couple of beers, but I love it. But I really firmly believe that, we get a lot of people that reach out to us, younger guys that are struggling in departments, whether it's a small department, big department, but feeling lost, not having the right direction, not having a officer that leads them or a senior man in their house that sets the tone. And it's a struggle for them. And I have to say, content like ours, I like to think that we're trying to point them in the right direction, or at least give them, some understanding of some of the issues we deal with. And I know you guys at Thin Red Line Radio podcast, you do very much the same thing. And I think it's important. And I think not everybody has the ability to be in a great department. And I think not everyone has the ability to go to fires every tour. That's a real, I was trying to wrap this up, but we might hit on this real quick, right? So I have a lot of people reach out. Like, everybody likes to talk about going to fires, but the reality is that even if you're in the busiest cities, even New York City has houses that don't go to fires.
Absolutely.
Right? Just because you're a New York City fireman doesn't mean you're going to work.
All right? We'll throw a little out there. Manhattan, where do they go to?
Sure.
They may go to fires.
A lot of alarms.
And a lot of smells and bells.
And I'm not a New York City specialist, but the reason why I point that out is because they probably have over 300 firehouses in the city. And that's not fact. I don't know how many houses, but I can only assume there's probably that many. I know how big of a department it is with 5 boroughs. But my point is this, right? They have sleepy houses and they have busy houses. And the American Fire Service is probably made up of 80% of the fire companies are not going to fires every tour or every day. Mm-hmm. And so, we need to start having some realistic conversations too, that even through social media, in which we're a social media platform, but please understand that, get your reps in and train, but not everybody has the ability to go to fires every day, but that doesn't make them less credible.
You have to be ready for your fire.
Oh, I agree.
And not to sound like an announcer or anything, but you got to be ready, because you never know when the bell's going to hit and it say, hey, working fire. How about this one? Working fire with entrapment.
Right.
What does that do to you? Holy crap. Tightens them
Absolutely.
right up.
Right.
Back door gets a little tighter. Now, especially if you're on the truck company, because you got to go in and find that primary search. Got to force in, do what you got to do. First do engine company. Hey, I got to have quick water on this fire.
Not even. Put it in a volunteer department with a 6-man engine company rolling in with a second due company coming in 3 minutes behind them.
John Wayne time.
We gotta get a line to the fire, and we need to start searches, right? But those are those issues, and for me, what I'm starting to value more and more, just through feedback of people that listen to our content, listen to our podcast, and send me messages on social, is that you're absolutely right, man. Not everybody has the ability to be a Philly, New York, Baltimore, PG County,
LA,
and that's
Houston,
just right.
All that stuff.
Right. Not everybody has the ability to go to work all the time, and so we have to have realistic conversations too. That says, those guys are, and I'll say it, they're blessed with fire. They have the ability to go to fire, and they have the ability to put their hard work to work every single day or every other tour, and they have the ability to do that. And frankly, that's fantastic. And I'm not wishing ill will, obviously, but this is a fireman's podcast. Going to work is what we want to do. We go to the firehouse that morning or that evening.
To go to a job.
And we want to, okay.
Let's showcase our talents.
Hope we get a job tonight. I've been working my ass off.
It's funny. One of the things I say, some guys are like, I'll see you at the big job. I'm like, I'll see you at the small one.
Yeah. I love the small ones.
See you at the small one.
I
love a good can job.
Give me a mattress fire any single day with a good smoke condition.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, that mattress smoke is the worst.
Oh, it is.
Dude, you ever see the purple haze coming off that stuff? Because of all the chemicals? Disgusting.
But the point is this. Give me a room of contents. Give me a small fire that puts us to a challenge but doesn't keep me there for 4 hours, right?
Exactly. No surround and drown on
right,
that.
Absolutely. The big one is, listen, the first 5 minutes of the big one is fun, and then the rest of that is...
hook up and look up.
Right.
That's it.
So, I'm sorry, man. You reminded me of Pennington when you say shit like that. These rhymes.
Wait, hold on.
Stop.
I don't sound like Jeff Foxworthy first off.
All right, cut that, Seb. Cut that.
Good old Ryan.
But I have to say, but that's part of the fun of this too, is being able to know different guys and to have those conversations. But it's good, and the fire service is good, and you being here tonight is a true indication of just relationships and why we enjoy this and why we do this. And you have an open invite anytime you want. We're going to get you and Shaun on. It's just a matter of getting it done.
Yeah, we're working on that. I messaged him. He's hanging out at the Kiss concert tonight.
Very busy tonight.
Very busy.
Wearing his platforms and his makeup. Did he send you a picture? Is he in full makeup tonight?
No makeup. I think he's just taking video of the stage.
All right. So, but we'll get you. I would love to get you guys on because I do love what you do, and like I said, like I don't have the ability to digest a lot of content, but I do listen to your podcast, and
That's great. Thank you.
I find tremendous value in it, and like I said, I mean, there's been a couple that really stick out with me, and so on. So please keep doing what you guys do because it does make a difference, and people are listening. Your call-in show couldn't have been on the worst day ever. I wanted to call in and I could not. I was literally in a position where I could not call.
So all right. I'm going to let this leak. We're looking to do a call-in show for Thanksgiving. We did the Thanksgiving one.
What do you want?
For Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
And you know what? We're going to call it It's About Them.
Yeah.
And the spin on this is it's about them. It's about the people that support us.
I like that.
It's about the people, the family members that understand that we are going to pick up on a volunteer's time and run out the door
when you're serving dinner or serving breakfast or whatever else. My man, they certainly have to understand it's all about them because you want them to call in on Valentine's Day.
Absolutely.
So I have to explain to my wife that I have to call you on Valentine's Day instead of, being out.
We're looking to do this hopefully a day or two before.
Oh, okay. All right.
Come on. So
no, that's good.
It is what it is. But we're looking.
That's funny.
Sean and I have a blast with it, and hopefully to expand it. And
it's awesome.
But I apprate your invite for coming back.
Listen,
I had a blast.
Thank
you, bro.
I think anybody that's willing to spread the good word will always have a place here, and because that's truly what we're all about. Too much negativity in this world, whether in the fire service or not, just negativity. And I think it runs rampant. And when we allow that to get into the firehouse, it's that cancer that we were talking about, and we can't have that. So for us here, our main mission is to spread the good word and to tell everybody that the fire service is alive and well, man.
Absolutely.
The brotherhood is good.
Share the knowledge.
So, John, thanks, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure having a beer with you and sitting down tonight. And, I'm not even a sign out. I mean, it's goodbye.
It's awesome. Thanks, bro. No, thank you.